My name is Rick Hovey. I'm the Deputy Chief of Police in the town of New Windsor. Alongside me is District Attorney Frank Phillips. I also have Chief Mike Ferrara from the City of Newburgh Police Department, Chief Michael Clancy from the town of Newburgh Police Department, also Assistant District Attorney Karen Reyes, Detective Chris Sager, and the lead detective on this case is Detective Michael Schwartz. In January of 2013, Detective Michael Schwartz began an investigation into sex trafficking. This criminal activity was occurring in the town of New Windsor, the city of Newburgh, and the town of Newburgh. An investigation was conducted with detectives and officers from all three jurisdictions, as well as investigators from the district attorney's office. This investigation revealed that there were several female victims being victimized of this crime of sex trafficking. The victims were subjected to ongoing physical and sexual abuse. On the morning of March 28, 2013, search warrants were executed at several locations, including 2 local hotels excuse me, and the suspect's residence located in the city of Newburgh. Police seized over $10,000 worth of illegal drugs that included cocaine, heroin, and assorted pills. Police also seized over $75,000 in cash. 2 guns were seized, including a .22 caliber handgun and a loaded .45 caliber handgun. There were also 3 vehicles seized as a result of this investigation. The suspect in this case is identified as Alexander Adams, age 57, who resides in the city of Newburgh. Mr. Adams was arrested yesterday and charged with the following crimes: 12 counts of sex trafficking, which is a B felony, 3 counts of rape in the first degree, 3 counts of sex act, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, 1 count of criminal possession of a controlled substance, A felony, and 3 counts of criminal possession of a controlled substance, which is a B felony. Adams was arraigned last evening before Justice Noreen Calderon in New Windsor Court, and he was remanded to Orange County Jail with no bail. This investigation is ongoing and may result in additional charges. At this time, I'd like to have District Attorney Frank Phillips say a few words.
Thanks, Rick. First, I want to commend the interagency cooperation between the New Windsor Police Department, the Town of Newburgh, and the City of Newburgh Police Department. To anticipate some of your questions, the defendant in this case faces a maximum term of up to 25 years in prison on each count of sex trafficking, also up to 15 years in prison on the gun case, the loaded handgun, and I think up to 24 years on the drug possession case. I'll anticipate some of your questions to say that while these crimes occurred in several local motels, we're unable to identify them at this point because some of the victims are still living in those motels and we're concerned about their safety. The counts of rape in the first degree actually involved the defendant himself forcibly having sexual intercourse with several of the victims. This operation clearly shows the amount of money that can be made from this type of operation, and there were numerous women that were victimized in this case, all of whom are citizens of the United States, not foreigners who were here illegally. And it's the first case of sex trafficking we've had here in Orange County. I'm happy that we could lend technical expertise, but certainly the police, Detective Schwartz and his colleagues deserve the credit, and as usually is the case, the people that deserve the credit aren't standing up here at the podium. But again, it's a significant seizure of assets that can be forfeited as the ill-gotten gains, and Assistant District Attorney Reyes, in addition to being the prosecutor in this case, has done extraordinary work to provide or attempt to provide services for these women to be able to get them out of their current environment, and we've been somewhat successful in that as well. So I'll turn this back to Deputy Chief Hovey, who has some more introductions before we entertain general questions.
Thank you, Frank. I just wanted to say that this was a joint investigation involving the City of Newburgh, Town of Newburgh, Town of New Windsor. Our detectives, as well as the City of Newburgh and Town of Newburgh detectives, worked very closely together. I'm proud to say that we have a very good working relationship with these agencies, as well as with the District Attorney's Office. Many of us have been here for quite a while, and we tend to work very well together, which makes the case go that much easier. When the search warrants were executed, the residence of the suspect, a warrant was executed at that residence, and the City of Newburgh tactical team assisted with securing that residence so we could go in and do our searches. Everything went very smoothly, and all the agencies worked well together. I just want to make that point. Chief Ferrara, is there anything you want to add?
If I could, thank you. I would like to reiterate what the district attorney mentioned about this being, I believe it's our first known sex trafficking case. It's a very serious criminal offense, and we know there's a nationwide problem with sex trafficking and human trafficking. I'm so glad that the detectives, and I'm going to mention the fact that all these detectives work together in the agencies and the DA's office, but specifically Detective Schwartz and Detective Pierre, who's also here. They did a large amount of labor on this particular case that I know about. The case worked out, and a huge amount of narcotics, pills, weapons, and the vehicles were seized, and it was a dangerous case, but it's an important case, and it's just a landmark for us. Thank you.
Chief Clancy?
Just to reiterate what some of the other people said, there's a definite tie-in between prostitution, the sex trafficking, and the drugs, and crime has no borders in this area. Whatever happens in the city of Newburgh tends to jump over the borders into the town of New Windsor and to the town of Newburgh, and from our borders in the towns back into the city. So there's got to be a joint operation, joint cooperation between the agencies, and this case certainly shows the cooperation between the agencies. And what Detective Schwartz started in New Windsor, ended up involving detectives from the city of Newburgh, town of Newburgh, and everything worked out well. And the investigation is still going on, and we hope that more will come of the investigation.
Thank you. Could someone comment on the actual charge of sex trafficking in your office?
Sure. Yeah. The crime of sex trafficking has several subdivisions in it, and we're pursuing the charge which involves the forcible prostitution of women by this individual who is alleged to have threatened, coerced, beaten them in order to make them engage in this conduct. And the grand jury proceeding has begun and certainly will be continuing into next week. If there are any more detailed legal questions, I'll have Assistant DA Reyes address them for you. But the allegations are basically they were almost imprisoned and could not get out from under this operation. And that is really the nature of sex trafficking. And the amount of money seized and the amount of women that were involved in this really speaks about the awful nature of this type of crime. And certainly it's a first for Orange County. It's really nothing we're proud of, except we're proud of the police work that has brought this case to a conclusion, and hopefully will deter people that might be thinking of locating a similar operation anywhere here within Orange County.
questions now?
Rick, how many women were involved?
We're not releasing the total of the women, multiple women were victimized.
And how about age range?
Over 18.
Can you say how long they were victims? How long this is going on?
We believe this is going on at least a year. We believe in 2011 sometime.
Does this individual that you arrested receive a prior record?
Yeah, not sure. Is there,
If he has one.
I'm not aware of the prior record. Sorry. There is a prior record.
We actually had a story on someone with the same name in 2010 being arrested. We didn't know if that was the same person.
It is this month.
What's the maximum sentence he could receive?
Well, actually, if you aggregate all these terms of 25 years, I think that the law says the maximum you could actually serve would be 40 years in prison, which is obviously a substantial term, even though each individual count of trafficking carries 25 years. If arguably someone got 100 years, it would still be 40, and that's quite an amount of time.
So none of these women participated of their own volition? They were all forced?
That's the allegation, yes.
Do you expect any other arrests or any other people you're looking into at this point?
Not at this point, no.
Can you see what kind of vehicles were taken? I know there's 3 vehicles seized.
There was 3 vehicles seized, but we're not disclosing the description of the vehicles now because of the pending continuation of this investigation, where that may come into play as far as future charges. So we're not releasing that right now.
What about where he lived? Some kind of deal, or is it hard to say?
Yes, he lived on Little Britain Road in the city of Newburgh.
Were the weapons that you confiscated, were they registered?
It was, no, they were unregistered, illegal handguns.
Do you think those were part of his operation? I know you said that he was threatening some of these women and stuff. Was he like threatening them with handguns, or was that just kind of part of his territory?
No, I'm not aware that he threatened me with the gun.
How did you guys first, have an inclination to go check out this whole thing and see if there was actually human trafficking?
Detective Swartz was able to get some information through his street sources, and it just developed from there.
Was the operation being run out of his home or out of the hotels or all?
Different locations.
Did he have any associates in terms of running this operation?
Not that I'm aware of.
You mentioned trying to get some assistance for some of the victims. Do you know what that involves? I know, like, Office of...
Sure. Why don't let Assistant DA Reyes address that, since she's dealt with them.
The state of New York has several agencies that are specifically tied together to deal with human trafficking victims. The first is the Department of Criminal Justice Services. They work very closely with the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance to provide emergency assistance. Also, the New York State Prosecutors Training Institute has provided emergency cash assistance so that each of the victims can be placed into a safe environment as each of their individual needs require.
Have they been removed from their environments?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Can you say how the women got involved in this in the first place?
If we could, we wouldn't, but as this is an ongoing investigation, some of these women still have to be interviewed, which is one of the reasons why we're not identifying the vehicles, because that could be part of the investigation. So, we haven't gone through their biographies in terms of how they got involved, but it's a terrible cycle that everybody can be familiar with, drug dependency and, the way that these operations typically work. So, but we can't really get into specifics. specifics of their individual biography.
Do you expect any arrests of any other men that may have been soliciting?
Not at this point, no, but locating and identifying the Johns, it may be part of the ongoing investigation, but it may be difficult because this was a cash operation, and they're not required to show ID.
How did he get the word out to get customers? Word of mouth, internet?
I don't have any comment on that.
Be kind of a picture of how much money, that was seized, but do you know if that was an amount that was kind of circling through there like over, a month's time or week's time, or any kind of indication of how much money was going through?
No, we don't know. That was the result of the search.